Hey everybody, Humphrey here. This is my block and map based off of my approved reference. I chose to do this in Premiere Pro so that I could utilize the marker system. For the markers, the way I have these laid out is my red markers are the main key markers for my main character. The green ones are my main character's in-betweens, or what I believe should be in-betweens. The orange markers are for Fellow 2, and they're the main key markers. The yellow markers are for Fellow 1. They're the main key markers for Fellow 1. And the blue markers are for moving holds that I believe should be applied to the main character. I did not mark the in-betweens or moving holds for Fellow 1 or Fellow 2 just because there's a lot of overlap and the markers wouldn't fit, but I will be going over those and also adding them in my blockout. I'll go ahead and start just by playing the clip so that you get an idea of what's going on.
Why are you listening to this fellow? May I remind you, he's wearing a costume, not a uniform. He's no more equipped to lead us than this fellow. No offense. Why are you listening to this fellow?
All right. Let's go ahead and turn the audio back off there. That way we don't have to hear that. All right, so with my first key, this is the beginning of this. It will probably mostly get cut out, but this is going to be the first key, and this will be the standing position or beginning into a move for the main character and the two fellows. This is my first in-between for the main character, where his hands are mid-extension. And then we have a full lower extension, which is the second key. And then this in-between is, I believe, first contact after the walk. It looks like this leg over here is about to be in contact. And then I have the full standing pose with the full extension as this third key after that in between. And with this one, I want, or what I believe should be here is a moving hold with the hands at this lower position, and it stops here, and then we can have like a more animated gesture where this extends more quickly. Another key at full extension, moving hold as these arms are lowering and the body's moving forward a little bit. The body stops moving forward and the extension stops here, so we have another key. And then here's another moving hold slash main key. So I have the main key here with the hands at the highest position. And so I would hold them here until this point. And then we'll have them start dropping at a faster rate down to this key point. Right to here. The rest of this is kind of slow until it gets to the point where he points at the end, but we do have a moving hold here, another key here, moving hold before he gets to a full standing with arms down. So this is one arm down out of shot, and then the full arm down, and this would be a full standstill for this. So in here, if I'm going to keep some of these arm actions, I'll add those in here as well with some more in-betweens and maybe a key pose here. And then I have another in-between here. This is kind of where it slows down for the main character. From this area to here, it's just a slight movement. And then this is when his arm comes back up to point at the second fellow. So this is the in-between for that arm coming up, and then full extension. Well, not full extension, but full gesture for that arm. And then I have an in-between here. I believe it's the reason why I was feeling like this is because of his head movement, but also his shoulder and his body stops moving as much, in that towards the right, and then everything starts to lower for this key here. And then I have a moving hold from this key to this key, and then a final key here, which I'll also add an ease out. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into Fellow 1. He's the first one that the main character interacts with. So he'll have his main key here as well, but I kind of overlap the markers. So this is going to be from the main key here to here. We'll have a little bit of a in between here, and then this is where he'll start most of his movement. This is his second key, so he's moving a lot from right to left, and I think this is at peak before he starts shaking head. So I'd probably put it in between, right about here. Yeah, right there. Slight head movement for this key, and then full frontal. So maybe a little bit of a hold on his head here. And then he goes back to looking towards the main character. He's got a little bit of shock and awe on his face. There's going to be a lot more movement in the head here, but not so much in the body. And I definitely want to push a lot of these gestures to bring the eyebrows up in the character, make him a lot more surprised. Maybe bring his shoulders a little bit more down and bring him up, like he's getting shocked and kind of like standing up a little bit on his toes, like oh my. And maybe even bring him back this way a little bit more, so he's kind of give him a little bit of an arc, a little bit of a curve here. I definitely want to animate, push the animation on all three of these characters where I can, so I will be doing that. And then we have a slight movement to this one. I probably won't move his jaw like that, but... And then this is where he starts to get more appalled and show that he's appalled after he's heard what he's heard. So he brings his hand up. This is where I would have him start settling back down from kind of like that surprise of over animating him extending himself, stretching, and bring it back down and start settling back to a level playing field here where he's just like, oh, I'm so offended. I have another key pose here. And this key pose is when he starts looking at Fellow 2 during the dialogue. A couple more key poses to, once again, mostly just control his head movement, a little bit of body movement. And when we're in there, I might find some areas we can push more body movement. And then we just gotta have a lot of head shake here, so we'll ease in and out, or we'll ease out here. All right, and then start with end with Fellow 2. All right, Fellow 2 doesn't have a lot going on, especially throughout the beginning of this, so it's going to be very little movement. But once the dialogue kind of targets him more, he has more movement. And I really like some of the facial features I did here. I definitely want to mess with them more and push them, but here we go. Okay, so here's the first key at the beginning, second key. We lead into a little bit more movement. He doesn't really start moving much. So from here to this key, he does a kind of a slant onto, or a tilt onto one leg to look back at Fellow 1 and kind of show a little bit of surprise. His eyebrows raise up. He's kind of looking down a little bit. And right here, I have him looking straight, like he's looking down a lot. What I'm going to do in the actual shot, because this character is just standing a little bit back here, just couldn't really get all the shots correctly with the room size I had. I'm going to have him looking more appropriately in the direction at the of fellow one. Ooh, what did he just say? All right, here's some of the surprise. Another key. Once again, it's not a lot of body movement. He does lean back a little bit more. Maybe I can push that some more as well. A lot of movement back to center, a little bit to the right. Eyes closed. He's shaking his head like in disbelief. Leans more to the right. Realizes that he's now being targeted. And then looking down in disappointment. I will have some, I think right here I could push this some more. Maybe make him kind of squash some more. And ease out here. Make that sadness come through. I do like how he gets kind of a smirk right about here. He's just like, oh, that's funny. And then disbelief and sadness. I think that's it. Like I said, I will be pushing this a lot more. I do want to push these gestures a lot. But as for the main keys, I believe I got most of them. If anybody sees anything or has any feedback, please let me know.